It's the final chapter of the college football playoff.
It comes down to this.
Miami's unmatched grit and tenacity through the postseason has led them home. The national title now within reach.
They are confident. They are battle-tested.
Undefeated Indiana, led by Chris Signetti and Heisman winner Fernando Mendoza, have the chance to take home their first title and claim college football immortality.
The most remarkable turnaround in the history of college football.
The College Football Playoff National Championship presented by AT&T. Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app.
I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire wrong. So our orders get all backed up. We're drowning in paperwork, then actually drowning. Carol is fighting off sharks with a stapler, and pirates are pillaging the office copier, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant goes beyond the resume, using unique insights to deliver a smarter shortlist. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
New Year, same extra value meals at McDonald's. So now get 2 snack wraps, plus fries, and a medium soft drink for just $8.
For limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Hawaii, Alaska, and California, and for delivery.
Thanks for listening to No Question About That. You can support this show by visiting patreon.com/NQATpod or in your Apple podcast feed. We do a backer show each week going deep dive into a topic related to United. Or if you don't want to part with your cash, an even better way is to leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And now on with the show. Welcome to No Question About That. This is the midweek pod with me, Ed, and him, Adam. Adam, how's it going?
Oh, isn't it nice to do a podcast where things are good? It's like we were talking about pre-pod. It's been like a strangely quiet week because we're going well. There's nothing for Sky Sports to latch onto. There's no. It's been really weird. Like there's no civil war on like in the online fan base. It's quite strange. I don't know what to do with myself. How are you going?
Haven't had a decent argument with anyone all week. It's like, what's going on?
I know.
Yeah. Although I did write a piece on Bruno Fernandes, which didn't garner too much controversy. Someone replied to me on one of the social platforms with a whole screed about Marcus Rashford. I'm like, come on.
It's like everything has to have a disclaimer. This is what this is not about, just so you know. It's like whenever you say anything on the internet, you know?
It's that whole meme, isn't it? It's that whole meme about, you say you like waffles and someone comes at you saying you hate pancakes then, So. Anyway, yeah, it's been a good week. It's funny, the conversation has switched from does Amorim need replacing? Are we going to fire him? Should we fire him? Who are the options? To are we going to win the league and how many points are we going to win it by? Or not quite that, but...
No, it has. I actually saw someone putting out the fixtures and being like, this is our march into Christmas and the title. And I was just like, stop riding the highs and lows so hard.
Yeah, that is some hard riding. He did get asked about Champions League, though, after victory last weekend. It's fine to have a target. I think there was a report on Sky saying that everyone at the club would be happy with 6th. But basically, whatever number you pick, the club needs European football and preferably Europa League if it's not Champions League, because the conference is not really that valuable. So I think that's a fair question because it is the target that the club has and what they'd been aiming towards. And it was likely, despite what Jim Ratcliffe said, the proximity to that target that would have dictated Amorim's future rather than any specific time period. But we don't have to worry about that. 4 now, 3 wins on the bounce, plus the Chelsea one a couple of weeks before that has taken a lot of the pressure off, hasn't it? I mean, he looks, I don't know, does he look happier this week? Maybe. I don't know. Pressure's off.
That photo of him in the car that people have been posting around saying, look what winning can do for someone compared to what he looked like, 3 weeks ago, a month ago.
Right.
It's winning apparently cures all. It's good for your health. It's certainly good for your mental health. It's hard to believe how we felt. You and I talked about this before we started recording. The last pod we did together was after Brentford, and the feeling then, that felt like a point of no return for me, for Amorim. It felt like we were heading towards a point where no matter what happened, he was going to get sacked sooner or later. And 3 weeks, it's a month later, actually. And we're not there yet. We're not where we want to be or anything like that, but we're on the right path. And I think you and I talked about at the time, there was no run of form to cling to. There was no statement performance. The players didn't feel like they were we felt like the players weren't being platformed appropriately or a way that could maximize them. And then 3 weeks later, we've been given a semblance of hope, something real and tangible to hold on to. It's exactly what we were looking for. So the tonic for what United needed was in the last 3 weeks. So I think you found all of those things in those 3 weeks. Now we're a long way from where we want to be, but we're on the road to it now. And you couldn't say that before. And it's a really nice feeling. And I think if last season taught us anything, is that we should enjoy this.
Oh, of course, you've got to live in the moment while understanding that there is a big picture, and that there is a big picture. United need to be somewhere that is not here, which is back amongst the elite and challenging for trophies. I think we all understand that takes a long time, and discussion about a manager is whether we're headed in the right direction. Could you see light at the tunnel? Could you see this manager taking United to that point, right? And it was getting to the point where I was saying things like, well, I kind of want him to stay, but it's blind faith because I have no evidence. Now we have a little bit of evidence. It is only 3 games, right? Ten Hag apparently won 3 games in a row 7 times. So a little bit of context there, and that's Ten Hag. We should talk about what changed, though, because I did see a few people push back on me, because prior to the Brighton game, I was like, he can't play the same approach as he did against Liverpool. It's not going to work in this game. And he did change, right? And there's been some significant changes both over the course of this season and in the last few games, which I think have helped him. And also, not that I think he's under any less pressure, but also kind of put paid to the idea that he is too stubborn to change anything, because I think there are some pretty significant changes. Outside of the basic structure of 3-4-3, the formation hasn't changed, but we are now very much the most direct side in the Premier League, for better or worse. That very much changed. We saw hints of that early in the season. I remember tweeting during the Arsenal game going, I'm not sure this long ball stuff's going to work. Obviously, the goalkeeper changed. That's a big difference because we have someone who's just competent. We don't have to panic every time a ball comes in because he goes out there and he catches it. There's arguments about whether he should have done better with a free kick last weekend or not, but I don't think that would destroy anyone's confidence in him. And then the other major thing that has changed, as well as a few other tweaks, is the out of possession shape. I mean, it's clearly a 4-4-2. He's just moved away from the suicidal donut-sized pressing shape that he had.
The Eric Ten Hag memorial donut.
Yeah. Well, for different reasons, but ended up in the same place. And he's moved away from that. That was just really clear. It was helpful that the last game was at Old Trafford, I thought, because you get an almost tactics cam view of stuff, and it was just really, really, really clear what had happened there. And it's given United a much stronger platform, as well as trying to get an extra man in to build up, which this time was not Matthias de Ligt. It was Luke Shaw, who was just much more comfortable. And I think together those things have given United a better platform. Now, we could still lose this weekend. This team is still going to lose. There's too many inconsistent performers in there, I think. And we don't know exactly whether Amorim will get it right each game, but he's given himself the platform to stay in the job and take this team further now.
Well, they've also still got AFCON to deal with. They lose their entire right side. So Masraoui, Mbeumo and Ahmad will all disappear for 7 games. And you have to hope that there's been jokes about Andre Onana helping send Brian Mbeumo back to Manchester United early, should he take his Manchester United form to AFCON. But yeah, a lot's changed. The more directness, I think I saw H on Twitter, who does the overlap breakdown channel. Yeah, he was saying that long goal kicks have increased by 29%. That's definitely been an intentional thing. That can't happen by accident when you have that greater variance. No, just bypassing the central build-up and not doing it in thirds, I suppose, is how he put it. But as well as that, I think the centre-backs are clearly operating with more confidence, bringing the ball forward. That isn't something they were doing before. We saw De Ligt do that against Chelsea, and although he isn't primed for that role, he was showing a willingness to do it, which again speaks to probably buying into the system. The other thing, the out of possession, like you're saying, the 4-4-2, someone took a really good screenshot demonstrating that and showing how Mbeumo and Cunha were working really hard back. So that Bruno Fernandes is not doing so much running and he's actually up front alongside Sesko, and they're working to press back deeper than him. So there's a variety of changes, and I think one of the things we spoke about post-Brentford was that Abraham's stubbornness could lead to his downfall, and it hasn't, because he's shown the willingness to tweak. And I think there's been this misconception from his press conferences and through the language barrier that he's not willing to change his system, but what he's actually answering questions to are about his formation, and I think that is a little bit lost in the translation, because he's tweaking parts of his system. It's just that the in-possession formation is not too different. The setup that we get for FIFA and fan purposes is the same, but the things within it are different. And we've spoken about this before, that not all 3-5 at the back systems are the same.
Right.
And I think there's this need to win the debate or point score on whether he's changed things or not. But arguably, the team is more confident in what they're doing. There's more belief in the system, and they're working better on and off the ball to make it happen. To me,
yeah.
They're winning, so who gives a shit?
Well, I know, but we have a 45-minute discussion about it twice a week, so
I mean the needless debate on who needs to be right about it.
Oh, sure. Well, look, and social media is not a great place for holding more than one thought in one's head at a time.
No,
I'm just
putting my opinion out there. You don't have to share it.
In life, this is true anyway, by the way. You'd be amazed. There are some amazingly accomplished people who can't do that either. So it's not patronizing. It's just true. Not everyone can think laterally. But there are many things that have happened at the same time or over a period of a few weeks that have contributed. Yes, confidence. Yes, finishing your chances. They're above water on XG now by about the same amount that they were below water previously. So they're taking their chances. This is quite a high barometer of success in football if you score goals, right? But then there have been the tactical changes, the systemic changes, not philosophy, not shape, but applying it to different players in different phases of play. We've reduced our burden on our wing-backs to be the creative force, the old model, or his preferred model, the model that we saw at Sporting, where there was overloads in wide areas and the wing-backs were heavily involved in that, is less prominent when we go a bit more direct, straight into the final third. We saw at the weekend, Ahmad was very prominent alongside Mbeumo, worked really well. Diogo Dalot and Cunha, not quite so well, as good as Cunha played. That link-up doesn't quite feel that Dalot is not going to go on the outside and create space for Cunha, for example. But there have been changes, clearly. I mean, it's obvious. So anyone who's saying no is just wrong and ridiculous. But this is a credit to Amorim, because it's come maybe 6 months too late, but he's like, okay, this isn't working. I need to switch some things up. You still have issues. You still have issues in wing-back positions, right? We are weak there. Dalot, we know, is a 6 out of 10 performer every week. Dorgu's up and down, mostly down at the moment. Don't want to be too harsh on him because he's played, 30 games for the club and he's 21 years old. So perspective and all that, and he's come from a different league. But the to-date performances, not been great, not enough end product at all. Still very raw. It's a challenge. We still have the issue when Casemiro goes off, it goes to shit. Defensively, clearly, every single time, right? And that is the other options, whether it's mostly Duarte, but sometimes Mainu, as it was at the weekend, not quite working out where to be, like slightly higher up the pitch, caused a bit of chaos, right? So he's still got a lot of problems to solve here.
Yeah, and I've been wondering, when you look at those numbers with Casemiro, 3 goals conceded on, 16 conceded off, does that answer more questions about the substitutions and the issues with the subs, the fact that he's the trigger more than anything else than maybe we've had with the substitutes, and they lose that stability that he provides? Because I think, in the Anfield game, the substitutes were good. and the substitutes performed. Dorgu was really good at Anfield and then struggled on the weekend at Brighton, or at home to Brighton. So I think, there's still things to figure out. They've still got to figure out the midfield long term. But right now, between Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes and the things that they're figuring out around it, it's working. So I think ultimately it shows that Amorim's compromised in ways, or maybe not compromised as much as he's learned. He's taking the feedback that the Premier League is giving to him and making the requisite changes to win. So
right, and if he hadn't done
pragmatism.
That, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was curtains for him if he wasn't willing to do that. If he thought he could bend the Premier League to him, like we're finding the current Premier League champions, Slot is trying to bend football to his way of thinking, and it's saying, nope, we're uncovering your weaknesses brutally, right? So Amorim would have been toast if he hadn't been willing to make any changes. I mean, talking to Casemiro, the change, he doesn't counter press, right? That's clearly instructional. He stays basically in one position, right? And save for set pieces and stuff like that, he is not roaming as much. When Ugarte plays, that's part of the reason why we've seen Bruno slightly deeper. Ugarte is the counter presser, and then it causes other problems behind, right?
It's manic. It did manic counter pressing.
Yeah, not always sensible. Yeah.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
It's football season, and you can now get almost anything you need for game day delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a running back delivered, but you can get baby back ribs delivered. A strong defense? No. A strong deodorant? Yes. A six-pack of abs? Nope. Six-pack of beer? Yes. Get almost anything for game day delivered with Uber Eats, official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Alcohol 21 plus and in select cities. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
You open the fridge. There's nothing there. So what's it going to be? Greasy pizza? Sad drive-through burgers? Dish by Blue Apron is for nights like that. These are the pre-made meals of your dreams. At least 20 grams of protein, no artificial flavors or colors, no chopping, no cleanup, no guilt. Keep the flavor. Ditch the subscription. Get 20% off your first two orders with code APRON20. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
I think Casemiro is also a massive loss at set pieces. The team does have a set piece issue defensively, and still that's a carryover from last season. They've been better, but not perfect. And without Casemiro, it's a big loss. I mean, you look across the midfield front and you look at the attack, there aren't a lot of players who really help you defensively at set pieces there. And no player that comes on for Casemiro is going to change that. So that is still going to be an issue. And I think it's a massive credit to Casemiro. I mean, you and I talked to him quite a lot in the summer and through the back end of last season about Casemiro moving on. It didn't seem like there was any other ending for him, but for him to turn it around, his best football last season was in Europe. Really struggled on the weekend in the Premier League, and with the volume of football the club was playing in the back end of last season, they were practically playing every 3 days. But now with the benefit of every week, he can play 60 to 70 minutes. He cannot play 90, and he's playing at a really high performance. It's really impressive, honestly. But I mean, when you're talking about one of the most influential shielding defensive midfielders of his generation, it's not a massive surprise, and we know what a top professional he is, but it's still a massive credit because it felt like there was a death knell for his career at the club, and he's managed to turn that around.
Yeah, and I mean that's absolutely true, and I think it was fair to have that assessment of his performances because they were pretty disastrous. Was it Newcastle around a year ago? Yeah,
it was Newcastle in January.
Yeah, and it was bloody awful.
Was that the Ericsson? That was the Ericsson Casemiro midfield, wasn't it? And
there
against
were
the best midfield in England.
You were a few others where is this the Gary Neville moment? He should just retire. He can't hack it anymore. And credit to him and whatever fitness regime he was on over the summer to keep fit. A lot of credit to just being sensible with his positioning. So he doesn't have to do a lot of running. I think if you're asking him to play the sort of hybrid 8 role that he had in the team previously and play 90 minutes, he just wouldn't be able to do it. And obviously not having European football helps as well. That's providing us a nice swan song. Presumably it'll be a swan song. They're never going to sign him up to another 350 grand a week contract. So this will be the last season. I mean, of course, that does mean that there's a major problem when he comes off or if he gets injured or sent off. Because these things
we saw what happened. Don't you think against Chelsea? I mean, arguably the turning point, as much as the red card itself, is the fact that he just wasn't on the pitch to help. And we know that they had a problem 10v10. But I just think when from what we've learnt since and the data set we have through 10 games, including the AFL Cup game, is that when he's off the pitch, we just have it's just chaos. It's end to end. Like the Mbeumo goal at the end of the Brighton game was good because it was just a sigh of relief. Like that, the game was over. They needed to win that. Like not holding on and getting a 3-2 win versus a comfortable 4-2 win, which much more reflected the overall dominance of the game, is something that team probably needed.
Yeah.
But what you said about Casemiro and playing once a week, don't you think that's helped Luke Shaw and to a lesser extent Mason Mount? I mean, Luke Shaw's played every game.
He has, yeah. I mean, the positional change, he doesn't have to get up and down the pitch either. I'm sure that's taking a much less of a burden on his body, it breaks down all the time. And once a week, yeah, absolutely, yeah. He's got a contract till 27, Luke Shaw, but in playing once a week in this system, and who knows what happens when Lisandro Martinez comes back. We don't know whether he'll be as good, right? Because after his last injury, didn't really come back as good, did he? So we'll see how much he plays for the rest of the season. They'll make a decision in the summer about both of them, I'd imagine. But yeah, it's helped him a lot, I think.
I think the thing with injured players that we often forget, I think the recovery time is better than ever, but we sometimes forget once an injured player returns what they're returning from. Like it takes a lot of time to develop that trust back in your body. I think the best thing they might have to do, and there's Aiden Heaven to consider as well on that left side, is probably just alternating them. Because it's going to take a while for him to drum up match fitness and cohesion and being able to get through 90 minutes. And Luke Shaw can only play once a week. I think that's just common sense at this point. They've had to sub him off when they get leads. They subbed him off on the weekend when they got a lead. Yeah, that's just probably what they're going to need to do moving forward.
Yeah, I'm glad Aiden Heaven is back. I mean, he's a very high-quality player, but if you play once a month, I don't know how you develop. And the same issue with Kobbie Mainoo. Like, he came on, he wasn't a disaster at the weekend, but he was further forward than Casemiro was, caused a lot of systemic problems, I think. He's barely ever playing. He's getting 5-10 minutes a week.
Doesn't look like a player that's match fit. Doesn't look match fit.
No, why would he be? Like, it's impossible. We've got so little football.
Yeah.
Like,
the downside of no midweek games. You don't have cup games to give those minutes out.
Right. It's part of the reason we'll probably end up playing some friendly in January or whatever in the Middle East or whatever. But you miss the midweek games. Like, especially when it's bad. I'm like, not dreading the games. I mean, you sort of dread them because you're like, what's the desert? But it's like, okay, maybe it'll be better this time. It's even worse when it's good, of course, because you're like, okay, go on, lads.
Yeah, we want to ride that momentum, and then when it's bad, it feels like an international break between games that whole week, and it does suck watching teams in Europe when you're not in it. I think that's been the hardest.
Fortunately, that is hard.
You don't even have Thursday to look forward to, but at least Liverpool lost this morning.
Exactly, we got to enjoy.
That was very enjoyable. 6 and 7. Oh, this is almost a Liverpool celebration pod, but we're not that petty.
No, we are that petty.
Yeah, I am.
Let's talk a little bit more. Yeah, the brilliant thing about all the fake quotes that go around after every Liverpool loss is that they could absolutely be Arne Slot. The amount of ridiculous excuses he's come up with. the teams are not playing the system they expected. Sunderland played 19 games in a row with the same system and then changed it up. What do you expect, mate? Anyway, that's not exactly their problem. Their problem is I remember all the analysis of Slot when he joined Liverpool, and all the analysts were going, his out of possession shape is, there's some weaknesses in the model. We think there will be a bit of chaos. And it wasn't, because he didn't really change anything. He was sensible enough, and then he spent £400 million on forwards and changed everything.
Yeah, you're telling me that buying 2 strikers for £200 million is a bad idea?
Apparently so. Very good. Well, okay, so we're going to this game on Saturday with a bit of confidence, hopefully mostly injury-free. We're recording this before Rúben does his Friday press conference, so they're quite tight-lipped these days about who might have injuries. Obviously, Harry Maguire missed last week's game. He didn't seem too negative about him after he got the injury. Mount was on the bench last week, so presumably, apart from Martinez and maybe Maguire, assuming there's no fresh injuries, and I haven't heard about any, we have a fully fit squad. Different type of game, though. Different. What chaos at Forest this season, though? Like, you go from a great team builder with this kind of slightly prosaic, direct style in Nuno that obviously Marinakis just didn't like. We saw him berating Nuno at the end of last season. He has very high expectations for Forest, which, given they spent 20 years out of the Premier League, it's maybe slow roll this a little bit. Went to stylistically the most different manager he could possibly have gone to, and everyone's like, this is going to be a disaster, which it was, to then going back to the English Nuno in Sean Dyche. What do you make of it all?
It's probably the best demonstration or best recent demonstration of what an owner can do for your club in both a good and a bad way. So you can get so much right, you can spend the right amount of money, recruit the right players for your manager, and then have your ego outweigh your talent, I suppose, from Marinakis' point of view, and quit what's working because you want something sexier. Fans were obviously fuming because Nuno was beloved, because look where he got them to.
Yeah.
Ultimately, when you wash it all away, and I think we're learning this, is that winning is what matters. And sometimes winning any way you can is what matters. There isn't, and as much as Arne Slot will disagree with you, there is more than one way to win in football. And some clubs find their own way. Like the best of Anthony Elanga was in that system. He didn't belong in a possession-based system, and he became a completely different level of footballer under Nuno. And now, they went to Ange. Everyone knew it would be a disaster. It's like when Roman Abramovich wanted Chelsea to play like Barcelona, but that isn't just that. Then he just kept sacking managers because that wasn't the way that their squad was built to play. So I guess Marinakis is going the Abramovich route, but with the far less resources, far less reputation. And now they've gone to Sean Dyche, who is certainly Nuno light. And it's a great revenge game for Rúben Amorim if he caught the overlap at the end of last season. I'm sure you've seen the clip going around again from Dyche. And I only noticed because people keep retweeting something I said at the time, is that Amorim's best result was against Dyche. It was 4-0 versus Everton at the time. So, I hope that translates again and we whip them on their own ground.
Yeah. The Forest thing is fascinating, isn't it? I mean, it's obviously Marinakis' his ego that's at play here, and he just has an expectation that's above Forest station. I know they were twice European Cup winners, but that was 45 years ago, and they spent an awful long time out of the top flight. You have to build within your resources. Like, they have a small ground. Their budget is a third of Manchester United's. They push the envelope on FFP, PSR anyway, right? They push the envelope on their social media presence, or Marinakis tweeting from his own phone or writing press releases from his own phone, right? And so he's obviously in a hurry. I don't think anyone would, if they had a strong CEO or a strong sporting director, no one would recommend doing this kind of, like, if you're going to make the change, like if he was like, look, I just can't stand this style of football. European football gives me a chance to hire some players of a different status, different type. You do it in the summer, right? You appoint your manager of the style that you want, and you do it in the summer and give them a pre-season and say bye to noon. Because it's like, I guess you could make some issues. They didn't have a good start to the season, but 7 games in? Or no, it wasn't even that. It was like 3 games in.
A league this tight, it could cost them their spot in the Premier League. That's what it's going to be like this year. There aren't 3 obvious sides to get relegated. I still don't think after 9 games we have 3 obvious candidates. I'm not even sure we really have one with 29 games to go. There's just still so much to change. The fixtures will get tighter and tighter in terms of how close together they are. The winter period always causes chaos, and a couple of teams tend to fall out then or tumble into the relegation race. So it could be suicide for them. It would be a real shame because they were a really good story last season. But I don't know. I just don't love the idea that there's the sacking him because you want a style of football. It's just a big rich boys and their toys. I just hate that. There's just something I don't like about it. But then you and I had discussed offline, what about Marinakis's business dealings? So, bad things for bad people, I guess.
All I can say is that heroin dealers should not own football clubs. Was it cocaine or heroin? Neither of them.
Drug dealers, countries, who else? Yeah. Oil tycoons who also have ties to Russia and things that are really shady there probably shouldn't own football clubs. That's my opinion. But maybe that's why I'm not welcome in Saudi Arabia.
Are you not welcome? You might be.
I don't think it would be wise for me to land in Dubai anytime soon.
You might take a short walk off a very tall building.
They tend to do things to people in the media there. So people who speak out against the regime.
Yeah. Although you're not one of their own, so maybe they'd be less offended. Yeah. How do United approach this then? I mean, it's a bit hard to say what we're going to get from Daesh. I assume it goes back to sort of Nuno, like fairly direct, compact, fairly deep defensively, try and play on the break in whatever fashion they can. I assume they're not a high possession side. Forest, they're like one of the lowest possession sides in the league, in fact, but also don't create an awful lot of XG or XG against, right? That's slightly different this season because obviously they've been getting quite a lot of bad results. But we've got to take and the other thing to say on a similar vein is that United are much worse away from home than at home. And we got to win against Liverpool, certain style that we rolled out there, very a one-off, I would say. They won't do that again against Forest. In fact, a long ball against a low block just doesn't work, generally speaking. So how do we approach this one?
I guess your guess is as good as mine, right? Like I would expect them to revert to a previous version of themselves. They've got to probably do what they can now to get some stability, as much as Marinakis might not like it. So I think we're going to certainly see probably a 24-25 version of Forest, an incredibly good defensive unit last season, and that's what set the platform for them to be such a good counter-attacking side. So that's a little concerning to me. We've really struggled to break down those teams. But, I mean, I'd expect the team to come in unchanged. You would expect Amorim to back his 11 in again, but do they try it? Do they try to play a more expansive game this time? Do they go away from the long ball? Do they do more short goalkeeper distribution? What are you expecting?
I'm not expecting that yet. I mean, at some point, we can't. I mean, Senna Lemons is not so bad with his feet that we need to launch it every single time. Forest are not a high pressing side, so the risk is lower, right? And, well, we'll go. I mean, they had a brief period of Ange ball where they suddenly flipped to being on the highest defensive lines and squeeze space up the pitch. But one would expect them not to do that, which, again, like if that's going to happen, you can have a bit more control of the ball. I think we've seen a bit of pragmatism and the right call in terms of how we approached that against Liverpool and then Brighton. Brighton weren't really allowed to press in because we bypassed it, and they weren't allowed to settle on the ball in the middle of the pitch either, with Baleba and Ayari both having real stinkers, I'd say. So I think a little bit of a switch up I wouldn't expect Sonny Lammers to start like tiki-takaing it out. The big call really is, does Yoro stay in the side? He was very unlucky to be dropped. It tends to be when Amorim is either worried about being under a lot of pressure and having to do a lot of box defending or worried about set pieces. They'll play both De Ligt and Maguire. I don't see that as being a problem in this game. So I think Yoro will probably start alongside De Ligt, especially if there's still a question mark around Harry's fitness. So, it could well be an unchanged 11. I wonder, I mean, he never plays Ahmad and Dorgu, does he? So it's not like the output from Dorgu is any better than Dalot. I'm just so sick of seeing that guy at left back because he's not much better at right back, but at left back, there's just nothing.
No, in the Liverpool game, he was the only negative for mine was, I hate to say it, but he was so bad early in that game. It was calamitous. And I would rather go with a higher ceiling and a lower floor in Patrick Dorgu because I'd like to invest some time in a guy who I actually think has a future at the club. I think we saw in pre-season what he can do against Premier League opponents. He's going through a tough patch.
Yeah.
But guess who went through a tough patch, a couple of months ago to start the season, well, even a month ago, and that was Ahmad. And now he's playing in a slightly higher role that's more right-sided than right wing back to me. So I would just insert him because I think right now Dorgu's more suited to slotting into the out-of-possession 4-4-2 as a fullback than Dalot is. I just think that's a better move. But there's something about management that we can't understand where you know what you're getting from someone and therefore you take the reliability of that, even if it limits what you can do. I just think I much prefer the interplay between Dorgu and Cunha and Bruno Fernandes than Diogo Dalot. I'm sorry, as loyal a servant and stuff, I just think he's incredibly limited and is not a starter.
Yeah. Well, I think the other issue is that because both Mbeumo and Cunha do like to drift inside in slightly different ways, Cunha more naturally into the half spaces and Mbeumo to attack the box, it does leave a lot of space on the outside, right? That is not territory that Dalot is going to occupy coming from left wing back at all. He may invert, which helps in some scenarios, build up if you're going to build up through the middle and so on. But yeah, as much as I have been critical of Dorgu's sort of output because it's fairly non-existent, he does take up good spaces.
Well, he might be more valuable in a game like this, right, where you do need to stretch play a bit more against a low block. It might be more valuable. But yeah, that's what I would hope. I don't know. I can't do any more Diogo Dalot at left back. He's perfectly serviceable as a right back. I actually think he would probably suit right centre back if we didn't have Mazraoui being more suited to that role amongst our right wing backs already. But yeah, I can't do that anymore.
Since you mentioned him, Mazraoui's barely played a game this season, which is a shame for him because he's a very high quality footballer. But we have a lot of options basically, and we're not playing a lot of games. He played more games last season than he pretty much ever has in a season, and he had a patchy injury record coming into the club. He managed to stay fit the whole season, basically. And I do like him in that right-sided centre-back role, but if I'm looking at one of Mazraoui or Yoro, given that Yoro's progressed with his ball carrying significantly and the recovery pace is just excellent, he's not awesome in the air, but neither is Mazraoui, so... I'm picking Yoro every time. And given that in the bigger games, as I said, he has played De Ligt and Maguire a couple of times where he thinks there's going to be a lot of box defending. It's a bit hard for Maz at the moment. He's not going to get a lot of game time.
No, not with Ahmad making the right wing back role, whatever you want to call that, making that his own, and he really has through the last few weeks. So it's really limiting for him because Yoro's not playing on the left side of defence anymore. That's clearly Luke Shaw's spot. And then you've got Aiden Heaven back into the side. Like you said, you've got Lissandro Martinez coming back. So it almost squeezes him as the odd man out without football. And then he's going to AFCON as well. But there will be more football. We'll start getting midweek games in the new year with the FA Cup. So, and there's just additional league games in January. There's a couple of 3 games in a week. So there will create opportunities. But yeah, it's a shame because he played so much football last season, really dispelled the the injury concerns we had around him, and then started the season injured.
Yeah. And I mean, he's a serviceable option at right wing back. I just don't want to see it very often. Like he doesn't have the physicality to get up and down. He's a lovely footballer. It very naturally comes inside, and if you're going to invert one side, I guess if you're going to do that, you have to play Dorgu on the other side to kind of balance out the attacking part of it. But yeah, shame for him. I mean, I guess when you pay 15 million quid for someone, maybe we didn't expect him to pay 50 odd games for the club, and he did, which was credit to him. Yeah.
Well, he was also bought as a 4 at the back right back.
Yeah.
So it does squeeze him out in that way as well. He is a victim of the system. But also, I think he has a role to play when we play against particularly tough left-sided attackers. He would have been really handy against Manchester City. I don't believe he played in that game against Jeremy Doku. He would have been really handy. He's done a really good job when he was at Bayern Munich on Alejandro Garnacho, which people were talking about going into the Chelsea game. So I still think he has a role to play, but maybe right now with the lack of injuries, he becomes more situational.
Yeah, and there will be injuries, so people will get opportunities. So, and maybe they have been in midweek that we don't know about yet, because like as good as it been, as positive as the feeling is around the club, we are really only a couple of players from it all going a bit haywire, aren't we? A Fernandes injury, he never gets injured. A Casemiro injury, real problems. A Sesko injury, and we're back to a false 9. I know it worked in a couple of one-off games.
If Cunha gets injured during AFCON, all of a sudden your 10s are not ideal.
Not Cunha. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Cunha when they're at AFCON. When we're lower on 10s and can't exactly count on Mason Mount. You need Bruno Fernandes to be actually playing against.
Got it. I thought you situated Brazil in Africa for a
minute. While the rest of the attack is at AFCON, and like you said, Sesko's another one. There's one of the problems with letting Højlund go is you're a Sesko injury away from being in the exact same scenario.
Yeah.
And Joshua Zirkzee, I'm actually, while we're on the subject, Joshua Zirkzee, what's your take on his situation? He seems to still be very involved with the team. He doesn't seem to be like, he's not showing physical signs of being unhappy when you're seeing him on the bench, like you see with other players at times who aren't getting minutes. What's your thoughts? Is he another player? Is he a victim of the system too?
Well, he is, because he'd be a victim of most systems. Honestly, it's hard to say exactly what he is as a striker, a second striker, I guess.
Or a false 9, which is
or a false 9,
not a thing as much now.
And not right now. I mean, trends come and go in football, of course, but he doesn't score enough goals for him to be our number 9. He just doesn't seem to sniff them out at all. Plays in a different way to Benjamin Sesko, although he can play together pretty well. Josh Zirkzee, as we saw last week, he can't jump, won't jump. So it's not like you can chuck stuff in.
That was not good defending.
Really bad.
Replay was very ugly, that attempt.
Very. He is what, 5th choice for a spot number 10, maybe? I mean, he's behind Cunha and Mbeumo, for sure, but if one of those was out, you go to Fernandes, Ahmad, and Mount as your other options, and so he's probably 6th choice, actually, for one of those number 10 spots, so that it depends on the situation.
Does Bruno play 10 again?
Well, it is a question, because I think I said something similar last week, and Amorim has shown no willingness.
I just don't see it.
Yeah, but if you had injury problems and you felt, no one feels confident. Manuel Ugarte, that's the problem. But
we might see it in a month. I mean, how do you stitch together? Let's just take Mazraoui, Ahmad, and Cunha out. Who are your first choices to? How do you rearrange the team? Do you bring Kobbie Mainoo in? Do you push Bruno up there?
Yeah.
What do you do? The wing backs are going to be a problem because Ahmad's really balanced out the issue there.
Absolutely. So Delo will end up playing a wing back. We know there's no other option.
That's a log out of the.
Yeah. I mean, I would be tempted to play Kobbie and push Bruno further forward. I think more likely what happens is he plays Mount there, and you just get a much less sort of direct, in-your-face style of football. We've just seen how dangerous Mbeumo is. Like, he can go either side of a player. It's his runs. He caught Van Dijk out on the blind side. Not the first player to do that, but he was just too quick. Very good finisher. as well. He's proving to be, even at £70 million, an excellent buy so far.
His first touch is just like, I think the best I can think of in like the last 10 or so years would be him, Juan Mata, and Dimitar Berbatov to go a little bit further back. He's just magic on that first touch. It does so much to create attacks. Yeah. The way he can, like there was a ball played out of defence by Ahmad against Brighton, and it was really tight space to get it onto Mbeumo, but Mbeumo's first touch completely opened up the Kiana. It was brilliant.
Yeah, well,
sorry, I had to.
We're worried about that problem in January, but it is going to be a problem. So, yeah, they're just none of them are the same, right? So you bring Mount. Bruno, the advantage is you get him closer to the goal. He starts to score more goals. He creates more chances, although his output's not down that much. It's different style. You probably won't get as many assists. Did not get an assist or a goal, and United won by 4 goals at the weekend, or scored 4.
First time since he was at the club in a 4-goal performance, they didn't have a goal or an assist, which is really refreshing.
I don't know how many 4-goal performances there have been. There were quite a few under Ollie, weren't there?
Yeah. Well, the other thing with losing Mbeumo and Ahmad is you don't have any left-sided 10s with the left foot, which is Amorim's preference, key to the system, or he feels. That's another issue you can't replace.
You cannot. So, yeah. May explain why they've had Jay Lacey in first-team training a little bit, although I feel it's too early for him. But, you never know. An option off the bench and all that.
Yeah, there was an interesting piece, was it in the Daily Mail a couple of days ago, about the amount of first-team training sessions attended by youth team players. So he's definitely cycling through his options. You'd have to think we're going to see some debuts and minutes, like Shea Lacey's sooner rather than later. He had that shoulder injury, which luckily wasn't serious, and they were just precautionary. But he is still so physically brittle. You would be very hesitant to give him major minutes. You would have to think they're bench minutes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I've been in the City Ground a few times, so it's been a while. It looks a bit different now. They are trying to rebuild it in some fashion, aren't they? They had a ongoing dispute with the council over buying a small strip of land on one side of the stadium, which I think they've solved by Marinakis making a donation to the public libraries or something like that. I don't know what it was. Yeah, Greek on Waddy's wheels.
Can United find a way to get that Freightliner land in the same manner? Because otherwise that's going to cost them, 10, 15 times the price.
Yeah, well, it depends. I mean, it depends how much government support there is. They could, if the government really do support this scheme and they feel it's of importance to the community, not just to Manchester United, they could issue a compulsory purchase order, which would then be at market rates. And there's, I'm sure, plenty of data on what a piece of industrial land in Salford and Trafford and the surrounding boroughs goes for.
Can I throw in something snarky now?
Yeah. When do you need permission?
Ed, why hasn't the takeover been completed yet? I thought it was going to be done in like a week when all that popped up. It's gone really quiet all of a sudden. Yeah, it was a matter of time. I'm still waiting.
I think they're still preparing the bid. They're putting the facts through now. Yeah.
I keep checking my phone, but nothing.
Yeah.
Sorry, it drives me nuts.
I know. As I said at the time, to much abuse on Twitter, just hold your horses, folks. Yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen like that. It just doesn't. Like, they might have been negotiating, but it still takes, what was it, 10 months for Ineos's thing, or was it longer?
It's more like 15 from
15,
start
16,
to end.
Yeah,
but yeah.
First. When so much money is involved and the way people get rich is by being extraordinarily tight. Like, someone's not just going to throw £7 billion at the club. It'll be negotiated and they'll drain every last penny out because that's how business gets done. No, there's no magical savior who's going to fly in and clear the debt in a week. Okay, I'm done.
Sorry, hold on. Sheikh Jassim, you're putting in a bid, you say?
Yeah, you got him on the line.
Exclusive here.
Yeah, when
Sheikh
are they having
Jassim.
him a guest on that? Is it that podcast, that guy who always talks shit on Twitter about it, like he knows tons. When are they having Sheikh on the pod? You're spotted in LA and we're seen at something else. I can't. Very snarky today.
All right, well, fans going to City Ground, enjoy. I once went to Notts County's ground, which is very close. It's less than a mile between them. When you get, this will age me, 90s, when you could get tickets on the day, just queue up. And I queued up from the City Ground all the way down to the county ground. Got in there. But City ground, big, good atmosphere. I think it's still a tight ground. For the time being, United fans will be in full voice. Let's hope, like last week, the team give us something to celebrate.
One of the few Saturday games we've got left now that they've moved all the games around.
Honestly, that and, I am rarely old man shouting at clouds, but no Boxing Day football and no United Saturday games fucking stinks. It really does.
No, it's so shit, and like I can't say anything as a non-match going fan, if you know what I mean. But ultimately, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do what they're doing. But money rules all. There's so much money being pumped into the game. Broadcasters rule. They don't give a shit about match-going fans. They just care about the TV audience.
They do, and I think it was fairly inevitable United would do a lot of TV this year because there are so many clubs in Europe. I think it's 9 Premier League clubs in Europe. United aren't one of them. They're the biggest draw anyway. So,
those teams all have to play on Sunday, and it's just.
So United getting Monday nights and Saturday mornings and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. All right, come on, you Reds. I'm feeling ridiculously confident. Not ridiculous. It's ridiculous that I am confident. Not
4 in a row.
You
4 in a row, Ed.
I can't help be that guy off Twitter and go, the guy who's super optimistic looking at the fixture list. Look at the fixture list and going, not unreasonable to say we could win the next 6.
Please,
I Spurs away.
Post it. I want you to post it going, how many points in the next 6 games with a screenshot, title charges on after they beat Forest.
Yeah. All right.
I'll be like, you're one of those wankers now.
I might not do that just if they beat Forest. If we put 4 past Forest, there you go. I'll tweet out that we're winning the title. Yeah.
Not far off 12 months since that 4-0 win over Everton. So who knows?
Utter woke nonsense. This is utter coke nonsense, I should say.
It's funny to think that.
I don't know what I was talking about there.
Who know Sean Dyche more for being the utter woke nonsense guy than being a football manager.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, listeners. Catch us out on patreon.com/NQATpod. So this week's extra was on Wayne Rooney at 40. Bit nostalgia. Snarky nostalgia. I think that is what we do here.
It's crazy. He's only 40. Honestly, when that's the first thing I thought. You just forget how sort of early he finished at United, and it's the price
early
to pay
started as well.
Smoking and drinking and just enjoying his life.
Grannies, the whole lot.
Enjoying his life all comes under the banner.
Yeah, very good. All right, bye now.